Hey, what is up guys, Zero here. Welcome back to yet another Lorcana video. We have yet another tier list for you today. This time it's for Sapphire. Bear with me, it's just two more. There's just one more after this one, and I'm probably most prepared for the next two. As you know, I am a Sapphire Steel enthusiast, so I've been keeping my eye on these cards for a while, so hopefully this will go a little smoother. Let's just jump into it, and let's get started. First off, we're starting off with a couple of vanillas, so it should be easy. We have King Candy, a 1 cost 2/2 that lures for 1. That is straight down the middle average. We can put it straight into C tier. It'll probably be in the middle of C tier. One thing to note is there is a Floodborn, which we will talk about right now. Just the fact that he can shift into the Floodborn will probably bump it up above the other middling vanillas, but our Floodborn King Candy is the Sweet Abomination. He's a 5 cost uninkable 3/3 that lures for 2, shifts for 3, ability changing the code. When you play this character, you may draw 2 cards, put a card from your hand on the bottom of your deck. The ability is pretty good. I actually like it. It's essentially a draw 2, and you get to get rid of 1 card that you might not want to see for the game, or like, you know, you don't mind not seeing for the game. So if you see 2 pretty good cards, you can take one of the cards that you already had in your hand to take out, or at worst it'll just do you know, a draw 1 and put 1 at the bottom of your deck. So it's a good ability. The stats kind of take a hit because of that, I think, because we have I would like to compare this to Gaston, the 6 cost uninkable Floodborn. He's a 4/4 that lures for 3, and he checks 3 cards and only keeps 1 of them. This is a very similar ability, I think. I think they both kind of operate the same. But yeah, this is easier to take out, and you know, it has 3 attack, which you know, makes it able to be hit by Madame Medusa and stuff like that. So yeah, I mean, something to think about. It's not bad, I don't think. I'll say it's probably a B tier card, if I would say. Probably might be on the low end, but I think the ability is pretty good. Maybe it might be a little better. I don't like that it's uninkable because I know that Sapphire is going to have some contentious uninkable spots, but I think the fact that Gaston lures for 3 also puts him above this King Candy, especially with like Lucky Diamond stuff, you know, it works better with that. But yeah, we'll see. Moving on. Getting back on track, we next have Chaca. She's a 4 cost inkable 4/3 that lures for 2. Again, a very middling, just average vanilla card. We're going to put it under King Candy just because King Candy can shift, but yeah, I think we can move on after that. In this set, we have a bunch of queens, or in this color, sorry. But yeah, we have a bunch of queens, and they kind of have synergy together, so kind of let's talk about them together. First up is the 2 cost inkable Queen Cruelest of All 0/4 that lures for 1 with Ward. Very not so good, I think. We see the 0/4 1 stat line in 1 cost, and just for an additional ink, we get the Ward ability, which, I mean, it's not bad if you're trying to keep queens on the board, and it looks like the queens kind of want that to happen. So if queen becomes a viable strategy, this may be not too bad. I'm still gonna put it, I want to put it in D tier, but I think I will. But you know, it's just the stats just aren't doing too much for her, I think. But again, if queens are becoming a viable strategy, her being a ward might help out a bit, and she's pretty beefy, having 4 health, so maybe it's probably closer to C tier, maybe. But you know what, I'll put her at the bottom of C tier, but maybe I might bump her down. I'm going to jump a little further ahead up to the Queen Crown of the Council. She's a 4 cost uninkable 3/2 that lures for 2. She also has Ward, and her ability is Gatherer of the Wicked. When you play this character, look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal any number of character cards named the Queen and put them into your hand. Put the rest on the bottom of your deck in any order. I mean, this is just funny. I don't know what they're thinking about these villains and why they're trying to like collect themselves. But I mean, if you have a queen deck, there's a good chance you hit. If you hit all 3, it's a draw 3. That's pretty insane for an ability. I don't know if you can justify having so many queens in your deck though, but I mean, it's not bad. It helps this kind of queen archetype go. Oh, one thing to note is that she is referencing the queen specifically, so her cards that are named the queen, not queen archetype cards. So that makes it a little bit worse. I would say queen, if it was all kinds of queens, it would be way better, obviously. But again, she is uninkable. Kind of weird, but I mean, if you're playing this kind of queen strategy, you're probably not running as many uninkables as other Sapphire strategies, but it's an interesting card. I'll put her above all these like vanillas in C tier, but I mean it could be a draw 3. That's not too bad if you think about it, but it's very, very hyper specific, and maybe because of that I'll put her in C tier. But yeah, I don't know, if Queen goes crazy, then maybe this is a much better card than I think. But yeah, we have the Queen that rounds this all up. She is the fairest of them all. She's a 5-cost inkable 2/6 that lures for 1. She is a Floodborn. She shifts for 3. She has Ward. I like that the Queens have Ward. This kind of gives this deck a little more legs to stand on. But her ability is Reflections of Vanity. For each other character named the Queen you haven't played, this card gets +1 lore. I mean, this is a very interesting ability. This will probably, if you're doing the Queen, you probably have to play it with Amber, because Amber has the best iterations of the Queen, I think, with the 1 cost and the Floodborn that shifts for 2. I think it's crazy. The fact that she is a Floodborn kind of makes it weird, because you kind of want to shift into her so you can immediately lure, but doing that kind of brings you down a Queen, I guess. But I mean, it's an interesting card. Definitely gonna depend on how good this the Queen deck will be. I think it seems kind of memey, so I'm gonna put them also in C tier. But you know, maybe if it gets off running, then maybe it can go insane. But yeah, right now I just don't see it. Next we have Scrooge McDuck, the Afficionado of Antiquities. That is a really cool title to have. But yeah, he is a 4-cost uninkable 5/5 that lures for 2. He is vanilla, so I think he's going to be going with all the vanillas. His stats are a little higher than a vanilla's normally is, but he's uninkable, so he's very similar to, I think his name was Danahi in Ruby. But yeah, I mean, probably not playable just because of that. But these uninkable vanillas that have high stats, you're probably gonna like seeing them in limited and sealed drafts, because you know, stats are king there. But yeah, I would probably put it, I'll say above the Chaca, because if you're going to play anything, you're probably going to play him. I mean, he's uninkable, so that kind of makes it stink a bit more. But still, yeah, I think King Candy is better though, so we're going to put him right there in the middle. And next we have Prince John, the 3-cost inkable 1/5 that lures for 1. Whenever you play an item, this character gets +2 strength this turn. I've never really liked these abilities. It seems very situational, and so far our situational cards haven't been doing very well. To be fair, you can play a lot of items very quickly, and like, for example, Sapphire Steel, because if you have like Fortispheres and you have Popsicles and all that, you have a chance of getting this guy up to like 5 strength, 7 strength, 9 strength easily. But yeah, just because of that mentality of me not liking it, just because like we've had like, you know, Mulan from last set, the 2-cost I think, that gains for actions, and then we've had a bunch over the sets, and yeah, so far it hasn't been good. Because of that, I'll put it in D tier. I'm just also thinking about Sapphire Steel, and I'm like, I don't know what I would take out to put this in, so yeah, we're gonna leave it there for now. Next we have Merlin, where he's back from Bermuda. I do love this art. But yeah, he's a 4-cost inkable 1/4 that lures for 2. Ability Long Live the King. Your character's name Arthur, gain resist +1. Again, very hyper specific card. I can't really think of an Arthur that you would like to play this with. It would have to be the Floodborn in Steel, which we haven't seen yet, I guess. But his stats are really bad for this, and there is a Floodborn, which we can think about, and this does curve into it, but we already have a Merlin in Sapphire that is just a support, but he is 3 costs. I would rather play that, to be honest. I like his ability more than this. But yeah, we can talk about a Floodborn next. This one I'm going to put into D tier. I'm probably going to put it under the Prince John. But yeah, looking at the Floodborn, he's the Intellectual Visionary, 6-cost uninkable 3/7 that lures for 2. He shifts on 5, and his ability is the Overdeveloped Brain, which makes a lot of sense. When you play this character, if you use shift to play him, search your deck for any card, put that into your hand, and shuffle your deck. So this is the first tutor effect that we saw in this set. Later on, we did see the Minnie and Amber also kind of does it, but she puts it on top of the deck instead of in your hand. Obviously, putting it into your hand has its benefits. I mean, putting it on top of your deck also has its benefits, but looking at this, I mean, that kind of ability is really, really good if it's the only ability we've seen so far. The caveat is they've made it really hard for us to access it because we are forced to shift this, and the shift isn't that much of a discount on the card itself. He does open up some doors though, because now we have the option of playing a much more toolboxy set of cards. And by that I mean you can play a lot more one-ofs of like cards that you might need in situations, and you just run 4 of this card, and then he becomes kind of like a 4 of any of those cards that you were looking for. So it's a very interesting idea, just for the fact that it's the first and only real tutor that goes into your hand. It seems pretty good. I'm going to put it into A tier. I mean, his stats kind of suffer for it, but he can still hold its own. I mean, 3/7, lures for 2, not bad at all. So yeah, I'll say an A tier card. Depends on how the meta winds out, how often he'll be played, I think. Because if it's going to be a fast-paced meta, I don't think he's going to do very well. But yeah. Next, let's get over to Pacha. He's a 3-cost inkable 0/4 that lures for 2. And his ability is, he has 2. Both of them kind of work the same way, because at the start of your turn, if you have an item in play, you gain 1. If you have a location in play, you also gain another. So I really like this card. He is very, he's just passive lore gain. If you have both, that's gaining 2 per turn. You're probably gonna have at least an item if you're playing some kind of Sapphire, because if you have Popsicle out, that's already, you're passively gaining 1 lore per turn. It's kind of like begging to be answered. I mean, you know how I am. I think in the last tier list, at least, I think in Ruby I talked about it a lot, maybe in Amethyst too, but I love passive lore gain, and this guy is just passive lore gain in spades. His stats aren't too great, but hey, he begs to be removed. You can just leave him up and not questing, and he'll just gain lore on his own. It's a very interesting card. I really like it. I'll say it's A tier, but maybe I'm just going crazy for the passive lore gain. But I mean, it's a 0/4 that begs to be answered. I love it. You don't even have to exert him, and he just does it all for you. Next, we have the Sheriff of Nottingham. He is our 9-cost uninkable for this color. He's a 5/9 that lures for a 4, and his ability is for each item you have in play, you pay 1 less to play this card. And he has the support keyword. I mean, if you're playing Sapphire, you're probably playing pretty heavy on the items. He's probably not going to be discounted as much as some of the other versions of this 9-cost uninkable cards we have. But I mean, he has pretty beefy stats to make up for it. If you go into like a straight up entirely item deck, then you have the chance of playing this for almost virtually free. I mean, playing Blue Steel, I've had games where I have already more than 6, 7, 8 items. So this card can come down for very cheap in that situation as well. So I mean, yeah, thinking about it, you play a 1-of just like you play the Kristoff, and you know, just like you play Chernobog or anything like that. I can see this being a pretty good card. I'm also gonna put it into A tier. Maybe I'm biased to Sapphire having all these cards in A tier, or maybe Sapphire is just eating good. I don't know. Yeah, I guess time will tell. Moving on to the next card, we have a 2-cost uninkable Chicha, the Dedicated Mother, 2/1 that lures for 1. She has the support keyword, and she has 1 on the way. This is a really weird card because it's like an expecting mom. It's gonna be so weird trying to challenge this card because you're like attacking a pregnant mother. But yeah, during your turn, when you put a card into your inkwell, if it's the second card you put, you may draw a card for this turn. Yeah, I like this effect because it curves straight into like Detective Mickey or Fishbone Quill, where on turn 3 you're probably inking 2 if you hit those cards. That sounds great to me. I mean, it's kind of weird if you hit this card and you don't hit that card, but even if she misses, she will probably eventually hit something, and she has a support keyword if you miss, so she can still do something on the board. I think it's insane. The only bad thing is it's uninkable, which is like, you know, Detective Mickey is also uninkable, so that makes it a little awkward. But I mean, card draw in Sapphire, I love it. So I'm gonna put her, I think, above Pacha. So yeah, another A tier card. I guess we're just eating good in this set. Next, we have Prince John, the 4-cost inkable 3/4 that lures for 1. Ability, beautiful, lovely taxes. Exert this card, and you get to play an item for free from your hand or discard with cost 5 or less. Exert it. It's an interesting effect. I think if you're playing a very item-heavy deck with the Sheriff, then this card might be able to see play. I think this card would, yeah, it'll probably be able to do something at least. His stats help to keep him on the board, and yeah, you can probably get some items out, and it really combos well with Hiram because Hiram is discarding the items off of the field for you, and this card will just get him back. They are both 4 costs together though, so a bit awkward on the curve there, but I mean, I don't think it's a bad card. I don't think it's a great card though. It's probably not going to see much play except in that situation of a very item heavy deck. But yeah, I would say top of C tier. Right now, that's kind of how I'm feeling. But yeah, I mean, it has the chance to be pretty good. Moving right along, we get to Kuzco, the 6-cost inkable 3/5 that lures for 2. His ability is outplacement. When you play this character, you may put a chosen item or location into their player's inkwell face down and exerted. And he even has a second ability, which is for 4 costs, your other characters gain resist 1 until the start of your next turn. That's amazing. This card is amazing. Every time I look at it, I mean, this is what Sapphire has been looking for. We want something to get rid of those pesky items, to get rid of those pesky locations. I mean, playing it in Steel, you already had the item removal, which was really nice. But now, you know, if you're playing Ruby Sapphire, you have access to that. Not only that, it sends it to the inkwell, which sounds like a bad thing, but if you hit the dime, a lucky dime, and you send it into the inkwell, Tamatoa can't reach it anymore. You've basically erased a dime from your opponent's deck. But the other crazy card that this counters is the Queen's Castle, which Sapphire struggled so hard against. Like I remember, I mean, Sapphire still has to run Rise of the Titans just for this card. I don't think any other locations were that dangerous except for that. So I think this is an amazing card. It comes down, it's turn 6, or not turn 6. It has 6 ink to play, so if you've been ramping, which Sapphire does, you're going to have it in time for Queen's Castle. But yeah, if you get it late, you're going to hit Lucky Dime with it. But the other, like, just that alone would have made this a really, like, good card. But he even has another ability where, let's say you don't want to overextend, you don't want to play any more cards, you're afraid of, like, Be Prepared coming down or Grab Your Swords or something, and you have a board presence already. You just start cranking out his second ability because it doesn't cost an exert. It only costs 4 to give your other characters resist, which means you can repeatedly do it. Let's say you have 12 ink, just bang, bang, bang. All your other characters have resist +3 now. They can quest and probably survive unless like hard removal hits them. It's S tier card. Very, very easy. I'll say S tier card. I'll say you run at least 2 of every like Sapphire ramp deck you're playing. It has to, because it answers the castles, it answers dimes, it answers other items. I don't know, really insane. Definitely S tier in my opinion. Next we have Mufasa, the 8-cost uninkable 4/9 that lures for 4 ability. When you play this character, you exert all cards in your inkwell and return 2 of them at random from your inkwell to your hand. And another ability, when this character quests, you ready all cards in your inkwell. Another insane card. Is so insane. It's a great legendary. But yeah, I can't believe this card because, I mean, when you hit this late game, you're going to be celebrating because, for one, you're probably going to have more ink than you need. You're probably, if you don't have to, you don't want to play this straight up when you get 8 ink, because getting like down on ink isn't that great. I mean, if you have to, you have to for sure. But this will become most beneficial when you're at that, you know, 12, 13, 14 ink level where you play a card, then you play this card. You still have, you know, a solid amount of ink in your inkwell, but you refresh your hand, you get 2 cards from your inkwell back into your hand, which is amazing, especially because the cards you're probably inking in the beginning are some of your heavier cards that, you know, you didn't want to ink, but you drew it too early, so you had to, like your Tamatoas or anything like that. You have a chance of getting them back into your hand in late game, which is insane. So not only is it a draw 2, is it a draw probably 2 good cards. Not necessarily, of course, because you're inking away some bad cards sometimes, but you know, yeah, in those situations where you have to ink away those like big cards, definitely so. But the other part is, after this character quest, you've ready all your ink again. So, you know, if there's a situation where you drop a big bomb, you quest with this, you get to drop another big bomb. This card just seems insane. I swear they made that Scar card in Ruby just because they were making this card, and like, okay, we need to give it a little something to hopefully stop this card from going crazy. But yeah, of course, hard removal is a thing, and it will hurt this card for sure. But he has 4 strength, which is just perfect to get out of the Madame Medusa range. So yeah, 9 health, that's going to be hard to remove for anything that's not Ruby. So I don't know, solid, super solid. I'm also going to put it into S tier. I think I'm going to put it under Kuzco just because I think because of like how useful Kuzco is in that very specific scenario, but that's very specific scenario that always comes up, I think it's still better than this card. But wow, I really like this card. All right, moving on along, we have Ludwig von Drake, a 5-cost inkable 4/4 that lures for 3. He is vanillas, and you know what we do with all vanillas, they are banished into the C tier. I think I still want to put the King Candy over this. I think the 1-cost 2/2 lore ones usually function better in most scenarios. I like those, are at least sometimes playable. But yeah, I don't think we want to be running vanillas in our decks if we can help it. Next, we have Minnie Mouse, the quick thinking inventor, 1/2 that lures for 1. She is 1-cost uninkable, and her ability is when you play this character, chosen character gets -2 for this turn. Cute effect that you know, you can combo off of like Under the Sea or any card that like kind of wants characters at low strength. She is uninkable. Her stats are low. I don't think it's very playable outside of, you know, like sealed events and stuff like that. I really don't like that she's uninkable. Again, like Sapphire is gonna struggle with the uninkable count. But yeah, I'll banish her into the D tier. Above this Merlin though. I think Prince John might be better than her, so I'm gonna put her down there. Next up, we have Basil, the 1-cost inkable practice detective, 2/1, lures for 1, has support. I mean, it's usable. I think it's above vanillas at least, so I'm gonna put him above the King Candy. Just having a support on 1, at least you can, you know, support like a rush coming up, or like, you know, that'll surprise people usually. But yeah, I mean, nothing else much to say about this. We follow up with Donald Duck, the focus Flatfoot. We got a Donald Duck detective to match our Mickey detective. He's a 5-cost inkable 3/4 that lures for 2 with exactly the Mickey detective effect. You just put the top card of your deck into your inkwell. I mean, it's good. I think there's gonna be a scenario where if your deck has too many uninkables and you can't afford like you know, playing Chica and playing Detective Mickey or something like that, maybe you might replace your Detective Mickeys with this card instead because it's inkable. The fact that he comes down on 5 though makes it a bit more awkward. He's kind of like a continuing to ramp card. Like, you want to ramp before you get to this card, right? So something like well, I was gonna say like maybe Chica sings like 1 jump ahead and then eventually you play this card, but that's still kind of awkward. So I don't know if I mean, Detective Mickey coming down 3 is just so much better. But I mean, yeah, there might be a scenario where this might be usable. I'm gonna put him in B tier. I think he's above C tier at least because he's like playable. It's gonna depend again on how uninkable we're gonna be, because we've gotten a really good uninkable cards this set, so that's gonna be a concern for sure. Next up, we have Tanana, the 2-cost 1/3 luring for 1 ability. When you play this character, you remove a damage counter from chosen character or location. Yeah, I mean, not very playable. I think it's nice that she can heal. It helps with like Grand Pobby decks, and having any kind of healing in Sapphire is kind of good, I would say. But I don't know how playable this is gonna be. I want to put her above Basil. Sorry, I didn't watch Great Mouse Detective. I don't know how to say his name, but probably above him. And yeah, let's just move on. Next, we have Tipo, the Growing Sun. He's a 2-cost inkable 1/2 that lures for 1. Ability is basically Fishbone Quill. You play this character, you may put a card from your hand into your inkwell face down and exerted. It can be uninkable because this is the same wording as Fishbone Quill. So yeah, it's a Fishbone Quill effect on 2. His stats aren't great, and I don't know if that's really worth it. He is inkable, which helps, but you know, I just like the Chica into Mouse Detective better. The fact that he's taking a card from your hand kind of sucks, because if you're playing Fishbone Quill, at the very least, it's like, you know, usable every turn. But yeah, I mean, not bad. I think I'll say it high and a C tier again. I'll put him above Prince John if I can get there. I'll put him above Prince John, I think, but yeah, I don't know if I'd rather play this. Maybe there's some kind of crazy curve that I'm not thinking of, but again, I don't like that it's coming from your hand. I like it better off the top of the deck. Next, we have Belle of the Ball, the 4-cost uninkable 2/3 that lures for 2. She has ward, and on play she gives all of your other characters ward. I think this is a pretty good card. I wish she wasn't uninkable. These uninkables are killing me. That makes me like not want to play them. But I think she's better than Aurora just because she has ward herself, and usually you just want that ward for that one turn, I think. Well, that's not true. Having permanent ward is nice as well, but the fact that she wards herself is definitely a benefit. I'll say bottom of B tier. The uninkability really hurts, I think, but otherwise not bad. I do like a full ward on a turn, but yeah. Moving on, we are hitting the actions now. Our first action we see is Vision of the Future, a 2-cost inkable ability. Look at the top 5 cards of your deck, put one to your hand and the rest at the bottom. It's just a better develop your brain, but it costs 1 more. You just get to see more cards, which is not really amazing. I would most rather play develop your brain, I think. I mean, develop your brain is you see 2. This is seeing 5, which is like you probably get to see what you're looking for more often, but I think this is too much to pay for like us just, you know, looking through your cards and picking one kind of effect. In my opinion, maybe I'm wrong. I'll say top of D tier, but you know, maybe this kind of looking effect has more merit than I think. But yeah, I'm just gonna stick to my guns on that one. Next is Royal Tantrum, a 4-cost uninkable. You banish any number of items you want, then you draw a card for each one. You know, like, if you're struggling to find like, your harem, I guess this is a card you can play. But no, I think this is terrible. It's why is it uninkable? I wish it wasn't uninkable just because I might, like, maybe have a chance of playing it now. But just because it's uninkable, it's not good. I'm gonna put it at bottom, straight up bottom of D tier. I just don't like it. It's just, I mean, it looks like I mean, the art is nice for sure. But it's an unlinkable card that like you kind of net 0 on because you're just discarding a card off of your field to draw a card. In desperate times, this is not bad, but like I don't know. I'm gonna stick to that one too. Next is Ever As Before, a song, a 2-cost song that's inkable. Ability, remove up to 2 damage from any number of chosen characters. I really like this card, and the reason being is Grandpappy finally gets like a really good support for him. Like before in Sapphire alone, we would have to go for this like Gumbo Pot or like, you know, like some kind of like weird card like that to get the healing. We have to rely on Popsicles to get the healing if you're even going to try it for Grandpappy, but this card kind of makes Grandpappy like maybe playable because it can hit multiple characters at a time. I'm immediately thinking of like a Ruby Sapphire kind of deck that hurts itself to get the effects of like damaged characters on your field that you want, because of like, you know, like something with the new 9-cost Gaston, and all the, like the Radigans and all that stuff all together. You get all the effects for damaging your own guys, and then you play Grandpappy and heal them all back, and you get a bunch of lore. It just sounds great. You know, in theory, probably in practice it's gonna be too like high of a cost. Like it's probably too slow of a deck, unless it does work. But I'm immediately thinking of that, and the fact that this card kind of like catapults that into maybe relevance. I'll put it at the bottom of B tier. But it's exactly what Grandpappy is looking for, which is very, very nice for sure. Next, we have Hideaway, an action that costs 2. It is just a Kuzco action where you put a chosen item or location into the inkwell. If you are hunting to get it down earlier, if you need it down earlier, this is nice, I guess. But it's cute, but I'd almost rather play Kuzco in all scenarios. But I don't think it's bad. I'll say probably middling C tier. In desperate times, it will work out. I'm going to put it above the Queens, but yeah, I'll just leave it there. But, you know, I really like this Kuzco effect, so having it on a cheap action isn't bad in my opinion. But yeah. Next is All Fun Doubt, the 1-cost inkable. Put chosen character of yours into your inkwell, face down and inserted. A really weird card. I don't know what scenario I would want to do this, even because I'd rather have pressure on the board than 1 extra exerted ink in almost all scenarios. I think if it wasn't exerted, I could maybe think about this, where I'm like, okay, I'll turn it into a usable ink for the turn. But bottom of D tier. Like I don't know why they made this card. Next card is the Medal of Heroes, a 2-cost inkable item that the effect is if you exert this, you pay 2, you banish it, chosen character of yours gets +2 lore for this turn. I don't know why it has the I guess you have to exert it so that the cards that get it out for free, if it's already exerted, it can't be used, I guess. Okay, I get it. But yeah, I mean, it's a cool effect. I like that it's kind of a finisher. I feel like I'd rather play Eye of the Fates in almost every scenario because that kind of stays on the board and keeps you getting lore, I guess. It's a finisher for sure where it gives you the extra +2 if you need the extra +2. But yeah, that's kind of my thought process right now. I'll say it's better than Vanilla's at least, so I'm going to put it above the King Candy. Yeah, maybe above the Basil too, and yeah, above this lady too. What's her name? I don't remember her name already, but yeah, I mean, not bad card, but not great. I'm gonna leave it over there for now. Next, we have Basil's Magnifying Glass. I think I've said his name every which way I could already, so you can't really say I said it wrong because I must have said it right at least once in this video. But he's this is a 2-cost inkable item ability. You exert it, you pay 2. Look at the top 3 cards of your deck. You may reveal an item card and put it into your hand, put the rest on the bottom. I mean, this really helps with a full item deck, like, you know, the one that would use the Sheriff, the one that would use that Prince John maybe. Because if you're playing a majority items, you're probably going to hit. And this is really nice when you're playing, you know, only 1 or 2 dimes. You can look for it and find it if you're like really struggling to. Yeah, I mean, it's pretty good. I think it's pretty good. Again, you'd have to play a lot of items to make this worth it, I think. But yeah, I'll say top of C tier also. I think I maybe like Tipo more. I think, not too sure. It's somewhere up there, or maybe low B tier, but I think it's not a bad card. Next, we have Merlin's Carpetbag, a 5-cost uninkable item. We are getting some really cool items this set, but ability Hockety Pockety. You exert this, you pay 1. You return an item card from your discard to your hand. I mean, the effect is kind of whatever. It's nice that Prince John can hit this card. It's uninkable though. If I don't know what scenario. Oh, I guess if you like Royal Tantrum all your items away, then you'll have items to retrieve from your discard. I'm just trying to think, like, how many items am I gonna have in my discard? I guess like if you're popping a bunch of items, you can get them back. Oh, like the Medal of Heroes you could get back. That's kind of cool. I don't like that it's uninkable. I really don't. I don't like you have to exert this. I don't like that you have to pay additional 1. I mean, that's whatever, but I mean, it's already a really expensive card in my opinion. I'm feeling D tier. I'd almost like, I feel like I would have to find space in my deck to do this. So yeah, I'm gonna put it right there in the middle of D tier. Maybe I'm missing something. But yeah, our next card is the 4-cost uninkable item, Sapphire Chromicon. This is the Chromicon 4, our Sapphire color. Ability, this item enters play exerted. It feels like they're really they want to make it hard to immediately activate items because of all the item like searching effects that we're getting this set. But yeah, item enters play exerted. Actual ability is Sapphire Light. Exert this, you pay 2. You banish 1 of your items and you gain 2 lore. In item heavy decks, I can kind of see this card being important. I really don't like that it's uninkable, but it's going to be necessary for those decks, I think, because you can't always rely on hitting Tamatoa. Yeah, I mean, it's uninkable though, and why does it have to enter play exerted? At least if you hit this with, you know, one of your searching cards, like if with your Prince John, that would be great. If this was in your discard and Prince John played it for free, or in your hand and Prince John played it for free, then you know, it can immediately get going. But I mean, maybe it kind of matters if it immediately gets going. I guess they don't like you like immediately gaining 2 lore because they seem to be like trying to staunch it. Okay, I won't talk about this item anymore. It's interesting. I'll say it's probably like close to this Magnifying Glass, but like they kind of work together where it has to be a deck very focused on items to utilize it. But I like that these cards exist. At least, you know, it kind of leans into the merits of a more item heavy deck, which we are seeing. You know, like I think we saw like some decks in the last challenge, like running the Maurice's like workshop and stuff like that. We could go really heavy items, but yeah, definitely an interesting thought. And we are hitting the end of this tier list. We hit our first location that we're seeing, the Great Illuminary, the Radiant Ballroom, a 3-cost inkable. It costs 2 to move here. It has 9 health, and the ability is characters with support get +1 lore and +2 willpower while here. It is interesting. When we first saw this card, I thought we would see a lot more help for support, because support is not a great archetype, and we saw some for sure that might make this interesting. But yeah, it doesn't have any passive lore gain, which kind of sucks. It costs 2 to move here, which kind of sucks. So you almost have to play it with Ruby, some kind of like heavy location Ruby deck, or even then you also need to like run a lot of support in it somehow. So maybe Alice or something. But you know, if Alice gets removed, then everything loses support. So I don't know. It doesn't seem great. I'm gonna put it into D tier, but I'm missing something. I'm missing some kind of connection here, but I'll probably put it under the Carpetbag. But yeah, I just don't think we got enough support this set, but maybe I'm wrong. And last but not least, we have Merlin's Cottage, a 1 cost location. It costs 1 to move here, but you're not moving here, so it doesn't matter. It has 7 willpower, and the only ability is each player plays with a top card or the deck face up. It's just a funny effect. It helps when you're playing some kind of deck that needs to see it, like, you know, a deck with Bruno from the Amethyst Bruno that checks the top card of your deck, that kind of stuff. Maybe. It seems very gimmicky though. I mean, it really helps with that Bruno for sure, but outside of that, I don't know when I would really be playing this. It seems like just a funny effect. We have like in Yu-Gi-Oh! Immediately I think of, we have like Convulsion of Nature, that kind of effect. But yeah, I don't really have further thoughts unless we find something beyond gimmicky. Yeah, I immediately think of that Bruno, and like if you're playing something like something that needs to call the top card of your deck, at least you can see it now. That helps. But maybe. I'll say very low C, but that's giving it maybe some credit that I'm just trying to imagine. But yeah, that will be it for the Sapphire tier list. Let me know what you guys think. If you think I made sense or if you think I didn't, I would love to hear your thoughts. But yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed the video. Thank you for watching, and I will catch you guys next time. Ciao!